I want to start off by talking about how to make your online homework account. And if you haven't made your account yet, just try to do so over the weekend. And I'm probably just going to add extra time to that assignment, homework 1.1, maybe an extra week. But for now, just try to get your account made and work on the homework. Don't worry about the due date. I'll make sure everyone is able to do this practice. I'm going to rename it. It was called Exercises 1.1. We're going to call it Homework 1.1, like this. Today we're doing notes for 1.2, but I don't want to assign any homework from 1.2, so don't worry about that assignment. Everyone to mute, but unmute yourself. Oops, sorry, wrong buttons. How do I? Oh, if you have a question, but just to help me focus, I'm just gonna make it quiet. Okay. So first, it was suggested that you choose the 18-week trial, and I'll show you where these things are in just a sec. So use 18-week trial. It's the cheapest option and it will last for the semester. It costs about $100, a little less than $100. And unfortunately, I don't have an access code that will give you free access. I'm asking for you to pay for the homework. So you'd use your debit card or credit card. It is less expensive than buying a textbook, but still costs something. And in another class, the students asked for the class ID, which you shouldn't need to make your account. Yeah, someone mentioned it was about $89 on the website. I don't know if the bookstore price matches, but I know it's at least less than $100. Also, and thanks for sharing that information. Cool. There is a course ID, but you shouldn't need it. I'll write it down, but still. You should be directed to our class by starting in Canvas, then click My Lab, and then create your account. And then our class should be there, but I can still tell you what the ID is. By the way, while I look this up, in the past, I made a pretend email and then I tried creating an account and it didn't work. But I just waited a day or so and then I tried again today and it did work. So maybe just reattempt creating your account if you're having trouble, or try using a different email address and see if that works. But just to let you know, like on my first attempt, it didn't work. But when I tried again, I did get access. Okay, SAT 1-37, class code. Our course ID is Walker 48233. Lowercase WALKER. 48233. So if you do need the class ID, I'll post that as an announcement so the whole class knows. But there's like 10 people already enrolled, and I don't think that they needed the ID to enroll in the MyLab. I think 18 weeks, $100-ish. I was told that the bookstore price matches, but I'm not for sure about that. That's the ID, but you don't need the ID. Okay, let me show you what it looked like when I went to create my account. Oops, sorry. Here. Thanks for being patient. Setting up the class is always a little frustrating, but once we're all set up, we just hang out and learn. Okay, so I've gone to Canvas. I've clicked the MyLab button. And I need to be a student first. Student mode. MyLab. Yes. Okay, here we are. Yeah, by the way, just a note. Thanks for letting me know that you're having trouble with connecting. Let me make sure my connection's good too. Yeah, but we are recording, so if you miss anything, it'll be posted to Canvas. All right, let's check this out. So once I made an account, I was led here. On the far side, it says use an access code. Unfortunately, I was not given an access code this semester, so we don't have free access. And you do have to pay for access. And that's on this side over here. So you could use a card to pay for 24 months of access, which is a bit much. I suggest going down here to the cheaper option of 18 weeks. That will last for the semester, and that one costs $84.99. So use the 18-week access for this class. But if you're unsure about the class, or if you're not ready to pay, go down to the bottom where it says waiting for financial aid, or maybe are you unsure about staying in Stat 1? Then get this temporary access. You can use 2 weeks from the time that you create your account. After 14 days, you're going to be asked to pay for access using a card or something. So there's this option at the very bottom of free trial, or use this option right here of $84.99. I think that's about it. And again, that will give you homework access and an ebook. Over here, it is possible that you go to the bookstore and you buy a physical textbook and it comes with a code inside. So that's one way to have an access code, but you still have to go pay for it somehow. All right, questions, cool. Let me come back to the class and then, yeah, ask any other questions you have about the class. I recommend buying it online, but if you have credits at the bookstore, maybe you want to use the bookstore. I was told it should be the same price. I just don't know for sure. If anything, the bookstore usually only costs a couple dollars more, but that's it. And something went wrong and email my professor. Okay. For people having issues with homework, do send an email to me, and I can either ask someone for help, someone at Pearson or someone at Sac State, or I can figure it out and then we can meet next week on Monday or something. What if you did the free trial and then you want to get the access? Oh, you can pay for access before your trial's over. I think. I'll have to look at the website on exactly where to click to pay, but I'm pretty sure you can pay somewhere during those 2 weeks. Yeah, if you're having trouble, just write to me. We'll figure it out. And don't stress out about the due dates. I'll give you time to do your homework. Okay, I think that's everything I can think of. Let's do notes. All right, these are notes for section 1.2. It's pretty much a lot of vocabulary. At the end, we'll do like a tiny bit of math. And the section is called Simple Random Sampling. So in statistics, we want to gather information from some group so that we can learn more about that group. And in this section, we talk about 3 ways to gather information from the group that you're interested in. Oh no. Uh-oh. I think I just remembered that we didn't finish the notes for 1.1. One moment. I think we need to back up. And then we talked about experiments and we stopped at parameter. I thought we stopped at experiments and observational studies. I might have to.
That's what I have. Observational and design, the 2 types of studies, and you're on example 1 with treatment and no treatment. And then you were giving us the example about cars slowing down.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember now. So we'll do this soon. We need to back up. Yeah, thank you. Just to recap of what was said, we talked about the question of, do cars slow down at yellow lights? And then we say we do an observational study where you stand by a red light where no one can see you and you record what happens that day. And then I want to do an example for designed experiment. So in this question, do athletes who are given specific goals perform better than those who are not given specific goals? Oh, okay. Let's say we do a designed experiment. I have a class of students and I divide them into two groups. One's the control group and one's the treatment group. Oh. And everyone is told to do as many sit-ups as possible in 90 seconds at each class meeting. Sorry, I'm not great at spelling. I two E's. Or you can always help me. I totally don't mind if you find a spelling mistake. Or please shout out math mistakes so we can correct those ones in class. Okay. One group is told nothing. That's called the control group. other group is encouraged to increase their number of pull-ups or sit-ups done each day by 10%. Okay, that group would be the treatment group, the group in which you impose some kind of treatment or condition. Okay, and then that's the end of 1.1. I want to draw a picture that kind of helps show how some of those vocabulary words were related to each other. So we're talking about statistics. The study, which is called statistics. Okay. There's descriptive statistics. That's where you know information from everyone in the population and you just describe what's going on with that group. Okay. Or you can go over here and do inferential statistics. So you choose a sample, learn something about that sample, and use that information to apply it to the whole population and know something about the entire population. But the population was too big to collect all of the data from. So you're not describing what's happening, you're inferring what's happening. Okay, so this side, you can get information from everybody in the study and then choose to get that information through an observational study or a designed experiment. I'm just going to put experiment. Or do those to that sample that you find. And from that sample, do an observational study or an experiment, and then use those results to understand something about the whole population that you couldn't gather information from each and every single individual. So you go descriptive or inferential, and from each you can branch off and do a study, observational study or experiment. Over here, do an observational study or an experiment. Okay. Let's start notes for 1.2. Which is people random sampling.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So for the first paragraph that you wrote, where it says they were asked to do as many sit-ups as possible in 90 seconds at each class meeting, and then one group is told nothing. So that is the group that is not being treated?
Yes.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Thanks for asking questions. There are 3 ways to obtain information from a group of individuals. Okay, first way is called a census. A census is a list of all of the individuals in a population, along with characteristics of each individual. squished together. Okay, since you're trying to list every person in the population, sometimes a census isn't possible, or it might take a long time or cost a lot of money. So just as a side note, sometimes a census is time consuming, costly, or not even possible. So let's say we can't get all of the individuals in the population, so we get a sample. So number 2 is sampling. Then we must decide how to select the sample, which we'll talk about in the next section. There are different sampling techniques. For now, it's just important to note that you want your sample to be representative of the population, which means you want the sample to closely reflect the characteristics of the population. And we're going to talk about sampling techniques in the next section. And those are used so that we get a representative sample. So we want representative sample. Which is a sample. Reflects as closely as possible the relevant characteristics of the population. Okay. The third one is called Experimentation, which we'll go over in section 1.4. After kind of thinking through this, I'm pretty sure what happens is you have your sample, and then on that sample, you do an experiment. But we'll talk about it when we get to that section. But the main focus right now is sampling. Most sampling procedures use probability sampling. Where so the book said a random device, but that seemed kind of unclear. I think what they mean is a device that creates randomness is used. So one is, let's say you toss a coin. So maybe there's just two people in the study, and you pick one of those people at random by assigning one person heads and the other person tails, do the flip, see what the result is, and then select a person to study. Or let's say you have like 6 people, and then you number those people 1 through 6, and then you roll a die. And then whatever number it lands on is the person you're going to pick to be in the study. Okay. And these days you can go on Google and find a random number generator. So let's say you have 100 people and you number them 1 through 100. Use a random number generator to pick a person to be in the sample. Or let's say each person is represented by a letter and you use a random letter generator, which you could also Google. As a side note, I sometimes make passwords using these random number generators and letter generators, and then just kind of pick random numbers and letters and then write them down privately for myself to create some kind of password that has nothing to do with me personally. Okay, next we're talking about a simple random sample. Is a sample. Oh, is a I jumped ahead a little bit. It's okay. So a simple random sample is a sample that is obtained by simple random sampling, and then we'll define what simple random sampling is. So we should have started with this one and then write that one, but they're related to each other. So first, simple random sampling. Which has an acronym SRS. Is a sampling procedure in which each possible sample of a certain size is equally likely to be obtained. So every sample of a certain size is equally likely to be obtained. simple random sampling. Let's say you want a sample of size 2. For simple random sampling, every single subset of the population of size 2 is equally likely to be chosen. We'll do examples that will make this more clear. I think we're just about out of time. So we want to talk about 2 types of simple random sampling. There's one with replacement and one without replacement. But we'll do that in our next class meeting. Okay. We're done for today.